Ladies and gentlemen, if this is you in a Dominion match, if this is you in a Breach match, if this is you in a Brawl match, if this is you in an Elimination or a Skirmish match, you have finally made your way to the perfect video. You are not going to have to worry about getting revenge. You're not going to have to worry about actually doing something in revenge. This is the Anti-Gank Guide, Chapter 3. If you're here, thank you for making it. Grab your notes. This is going to be long. What's going on YouTube, man? It's your boy, the True Raw Gaming. I'll wrap it up for you, man. I don't sugar it for you. I'm gonna get that shit to you raw. In today's video, we're back with another For Honor University video, and today starts Chapter 3, the Anti-Ganking Guide, man. We finally made it. There's been a lot of chapters that we did. There's been a lot of topics that we covered in For Honor, from offense to defense, and now we are finally here. So that's a lot that we have to cover today, but we're gonna simplify it by the anti-gank that we're specifically talking about is 1 versus 2 situations. These skills and these tips could be applied to a multitude of different situations, but for the sake of this video and to simplify it, we'll be focusing on 1 versus 2. To explain this the best way possible, we need to understand externaling. Externaling is a verb. So basically what it is you are not directly looking at the person, but you are defending from a single side. Okay, now that that's out of the way, I'll probably put some kind of video to explain what it is right here, some clip or something on the screen somewhere. But for the general tips, we're gonna go with the general tips. 1, we have to face the hero with the toughest bash. Now this has to go with pretty much any situation, whether it's 1 versus 1, versus 2, versus 3, versus 4. You want to face the person who has the toughest bash. The toughest bash is going to be the one that's going to set you up to get hit with big damage that you won't be able to parry, you won't be able to dodge out of, you won't be able to get out of because it'll be guaranteed. When you start playing against better players, that's the tip that you want to do. That's what I do. That's what works for me. I focus on the person who has the toughest bash. For example, if I'm fighting a Shinobi and I'm fighting a Peacekeeper, I'm not looking at the Peacekeeper. I don't see a reason to look at Peacekeeper. Peacekeeper doesn't really have anything to open me up, you know, versus a Shinobi who has a very strong bash offense, a strong unblockable that can come out of nowhere. You know, he can really do a lot of things to open me up. So I'm going to focus my attention there. That way, any of the attacks that the Peacekeeper is going to throw, it's not going to do much to me anyway. All right, number 2, external, the most aggressive person if both people are swinging. Now this, like I said, when I say externally, what you want to do is you want to have the person who's doing the most swinging, who's doing the most attempts to try to land damage on you. You want to external him because he's going to be the one that's consistently feeding you the revenge bar. This entire guide is going to be focused on how to force revenge to be given to you. A lot of times these guys are not going to want to give it to you, which is obviously the goal. So there are different ways to trick them into giving you revenge, okay? So keep that in mind. Number 3, this one is probably going to go over you guys' head, but you have to give them a target. Now, if you are a lower skilled or an average player, this is probably not going to work for you. But if you are a person who you have to know your skill level. If you're pretty good at the game and you know you're at least above average, if you're playing against someone who's also above average, this is going to be the best tip. You're going to have to give yourself an opening. You have to falsify a way for them to think that they have the opportunity to land damage. There are a multitude of different ways to do that, whether it's empty bashing, faking your punishes from a GB. Those are things that could be used to give yourself tags because they're going to wait for you to be opening and they're going to expect it. And you fake it out and you end up getting multiple tags from it. That is what I mean by giving yourself an opportunity. Don't just stand there and look and go completely on defense. If you're just going to go completely on defense, they're going to stare at you. Let's just be real, they're gonna stare at you. You have to be swinging, you have to do it in a safe way, but you have to give them an opening to swing at, make them feel they have the chance to hit you. And then the last one is, no, not the last one, I'm sorry. The 4th one is you need to stack your enemies, enemy stacking. So basically what this is, you want to control and funnel your opponents into an avenue where it is easier for you to defend. You don't want them circling you around, unless you're really good. Most of the time, it's not good, especially if you have multiple people who have good bashes. You want to have them pretty much funneled or stacking on top of each other, where they're hitting each other, they're fumbling over their different moves, where it's not putting them in the proper position to effectively gank you. That is what I call enemy stacking. You do not want these guys to pretty much surround you in a circle or corner you into a wall. Because at that point, you must just put the controller down because it's over. All right. So now the last one we have is stop maxing out the punishes. You will be interrupted. I don't know what person needs to hear this, but I'm sure you've seen enough where you're in a random lobby and let's say you for example, if you're a Shinobi, because I know Shinobi very well, if I get a parry or I get a GB and someone's out of stamina and I throw them to the ground, I try to do the light backflip and then do the top, that's not gonna work in a ganking situation. It's not gonna work. You're gonna get interrupted out of. You need to just go for the safest way to get that damage. Sometimes it may be just parrying it and going for a zone, even though you got a light parry, because you know you're not going to get that heavy off. It's going to irritate you, but that way is going to effectively, what I said earlier, give yourself an opening. If you're doing that long ass punish, it's not going to work because you're giving yourself too wide of a time and too wide of a margin to actually punish you. It's not going to work. Be safe about it, get your quick damage, and move on. That's what it's about. So now that we have the basic fundamental tips, the basic 5 fundamental tips for this entire thing, now we're gonna go into how to actually get revenge out of these situations. Now, when talking about revenge and actually forcing an opponent to give you revenge, you need to know how a revenge system works. Simply put, it's literally just a game of tag, okay? It's nothing more than that. It doesn't need to be complicated. All it is if you're one-on-one with somebody and that opponent hits you at any point in the game, you have 5-second tag, okay? That 5-second tag is, you're not gonna see it as a yellow bar on your screen, but like here on the screen, you'll see it. It looks like that. So what will happen is when that person gives you a tag, they have 5 seconds. If another teammate of his or another opponent anywhere in the game comes to hit you within those 5 seconds, you'll then get another tag, which will then be put as a yellow bar going into your revenge. Now, different moves, different bashes, and including feats, lights, bashes, feats, even GBs will give you a second tag. So, using that information, that is essentially how tags work. You don't need to know how much revenge. That'll just be boring. It's not important. The general basis is you want to get more than one person to hit you within those 5 seconds. Okay, that is the goal. Now, that's going to come in handy with the second scenario I'm going to give you, because this is the one that's going to be the one that's more common. So, the first scenario that you have is you have both opponents swinging at you. Now, when both opponents are swinging at you, this is the optimal scenario. This is the scenario that you are trying to get. This is the end goal scenario. You want both of them to swing at you. This is what you want, okay? A lot of you guys aren't going to get to this point, but this is the goal. You want them to swing, and what you're going to have to do in this situation is rely on your fundamentals. So if you're able to get these guys to do this, your fundamentals have to be on point. They have to. You have to be playing safe, okay? You gotta be not doing the big punishes, okay? You're gonna have to be on top with the fundamentals that I explained earlier. The second scenario is where things get really, really tricky, because now it becomes the more common scenario, which is you have one person swinging and the other guy just staring at you like an idiot because he doesn't want to give you revenge. Now, this situation is very difficult for a lot of players because, like I just explained earlier how revenge works, you can't get revenge if the other guy isn't swinging. So how do you get him to swing at you and get revenge if he doesn't want to swing? My friend, this is the reason for this video. Now, the key to actually getting them to swing at you is you need to actually give them a target. Giving them a target is by far the easiest way, because if the guy who's just standing there, if he's not wanting to give you revenge, that's the whole reason I'm standing there. So if he doesn't want to give you the revenge, he doesn't want to give you something that you can defend. He wants to get something that you can't defend out of. So first way to do it is if you get a GB off, you want to feint into a block. And if you're spicy enough with it, you're really him with it, you'll feint into a light parry, or feint into a heavy parry, or you'll feint into whatever he's throwing parry. That right there is probably by far one of the best ways to get revenge. And it's going to force that dude to start swinging more. It's going to force him to swing more. It's either going to force him to swing more or he's going to run away. I mean, he's not going to be doing that too many more times, because what it's going to do is if you get a GB off and you feint and you go into a parry, or you feint and you go into a block, he just gave you a tag. It's going to piss him off, and it's going to piss the other guy off, especially if they're not grouped up and they're just randoms together. They're going to piss each other off. Because obviously it's got to be somebody's fault, right? It's got to be somebody's fault. So that is a very good way to do it. The next one is the same premise, is you want to bash, but instead of getting the punish off the bash, you're going to block. Or in some cases, you can parry. That right there has to be one of the most annoying things to deal with when you're ganking somebody, because it's just so safe. It is so hard to punish because a lot of people don't think of that. You don't really think of it. If you look at any Dominion match right now, when someone gets a bash off, they're always going to go to punish. If you're Warden and you get that shoulder bash off, you're always going to throw your little light afterwards. If you're a Warlord, you throw your bash, you're always going to throw your light afterwards. If you're Shinobi and you get that kick off, you're always going to throw that chain heavy. But when you don't throw it, a lot of people don't know, when you don't throw it, you can actually block after. Yeah, you don't get any damage off, but what you're doing is you're forcing the other guy who's just standing there to give you revenge, and he's not even realizing it. If you do that twice, because if you do it the first time and it works, I guarantee it's going to work. If you do it the first time, he's going to try it again. Just hear me out. Try it. Don't knock it. Try it. Go into a Dominion, force yourself into a 1v2 situation, bash one guy, and don't throw a punish. And he's going to throw it. Other guy's going to throw an attack. I guarantee you it. He's going to throw another attack. He's going to throw an attack. When he throws an attack and he gets it blocked and you start getting revenge off of it, do it a second time. I guarantee he's going to try it again. He's going to try a different attack. I guarantee you, if he does a bash after you bash, and he does a bash and a light, you just got 2 tags off of that. The other guy's going to start swinging because you just hit him. He's going to think he can hit 2. There's 3. There's 4 tags. Now you almost got revenge. It's that quick. Revenge system it's a basic understanding. The revenge system is stupid. Don't get me wrong. It's stupid, but you can understand the premise around it. I'm not going to go deep into why revenge is bullshit, but this is the premise if you abuse it. You know what I'm saying? Now, there is another one. So when you get a GB off, back in my going back to my general tips and the what word did I use? Damn, I went blank. The oh man. Fundamentals is the word I was looking for. So yeah, so when I'm saying fundamentals, I'm saying a lot of these things that you can do are pulling from these basic fundamentals. Now, this just sounds like, oh, I might be able to do this. But in actuality, some guys won't be able to do it because you don't have the basic fundamentals. The fundamentals is everything. So, how I said before, when you can feint your heavy after a GB and you can feint into a block or a parry, hey, there's another option. You can go into a zone. You can GB and go into a zone attack. Some of these characters have really good good zone attack, especially if he's sitting close to you. Shigoki, he's got a really good zone attack. Warden, good zone attack. Shaolin, very good zone attack. JJ, very good zone attack. Medjay, Shinobi, Orochi, these guys have really good zone attacks. No more of the days where these zone attacks are garbage. These zone attacks are very useful in these situations. So if you absolutely need to get some damage off of here, the zone attack is going to be the one that's going to hit more than one person. Even if that guy blocks it, even if the guy on the side blocks it, he's still going to push him back a little bit, and he's not going to be able to swing right after because of the frame advantages you're going to get off of it. So whether you land that on him or not, he's going to get pushed back a little bit, and it's going to be a little bit slower. It's going to be a little delay for him to actually throw his fastest attack. So say he wants to throw a light afterwards. He throws a light. It's still going to be a little bit delayed because he has that negative frame advantage. So the zone is really good. It's really good if you want to get some damage off of. Now there are two other ways to actually force your way in getting revenge, but I will not be really covering this in this video because it is just so advanced that most of you guys won't be using it. I will let you know what it is. This is more competitive when you get into these tournaments. You have the GB confirms and you have the light confirms. You have to make a read. You really have to know the ins and outs of the game. Basically what it is if someone's actually ganking you optimally when they're doing 100-0 and it's all guaranteed and there's nothing you can do, you're only going to have one opportunity to get out of these ganks, and you have to memorize some of these ganks to know how these set up, and you have to know essentially it's going to come down to a light confirm or a GB confirm. If it's a light confirm, basically what it is someone's going to be throwing unblockable at you, and you know it's going to be a confirm because they're not going to just throw an unblockable. What you're going to do is not even worry about the unblockable, and you look to the guy to the left or the right of you, and you're going to try to determine if he's going to do a GB or a light. You're not going to know. You just got to pick one. You just got to go for one. If you GB in the right timing, you can get a lot of tags out of it, and you're going to get massive damage reduction. If you light parry the confirm, it's going to parry the unblockable for you, because if you try to parry the unblockable in that situation, you won't be able to do it because he's going to confirm it. It's going to be guaranteed. Those two, I just explained it, but I'm not going to go any deeper into it because 90% of you guys won't be using that. So with that out of the way, the last scenario we have is when both of these guys are swinging at you. Now, this by far has to be the most annoying one because there's really not much you can do. So in this situation, the only real way that's gonna get you out of this is if your presence and your pressure is already there. You've already imposed your will before that. Now, if most of the time they're just gonna sit there and both of these guys are sitting here, they're usually setting you up for one of the ganks that I was talking about for the advanced one. They're setting you up for an advanced gank. This comes into experience. This comes into gameplay knowledge. This comes into hero knowledge. This comes into everything. This is gonna really test how well you actually are at the game when it comes down to these situations. I don't expect you guys to win out of these situations, but basically I'm gonna give you what you can do. So what you can do is, like I said, you have to have that pressure already. If you are, what it is you have to be a big enough threat where if you have two gankers, you should be a big enough threat for both of these guys that they don't want to 1v1 you. If they feel they can 1v1 you, then it's over. There's nothing that you can really do here. They're gonna really set you up for something, and every single indicator, you're gonna have to find every single way to stop it. It's gonna come down to the utmost discipline. There is no mistakes in this one. They're not gonna swing. So when they do swing, it needs to be parried. Every single time. You need to be able to light parry. You need to be able to heavy parry. You need to be able to dodge bashes on a reaction. You need to be on 100% on point. If you're not, there's just no winning it. There's just cut, clean, and dry. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. You're not winning that if you're not him. That's just what it is. So that's gonna conclude today's video. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you guys are confused, like I always do, you guys can feel free to hit me up on Xbox or add me on Ubi. I'll be able to explain it to you. I do have a Discord below. I gotta start telling you about this fucking Discord. I don't know what it is. I just be forgetting I have a Discord. But yeah, like I said, man, go ahead, hit me up if you guys need me to, explain anything. I do have more videos coming for this anti-gank. This is just the first video for the anti-ganking for chapter 3. So make sure you guys stay tuned if you guys want to learn more, man. I don't wrap it up for you, man. I don't sugarcoat it for you. I'm gonna get that shit to you raw, man. Thank y'all for coming out.